Hello, everybody. My name's Micah McCaw, and I love movies.
Hello, everybody. My name's Jordan McCaw. I love movies.
And we made up a podcast about it. It's called the McCaw Podcast Universe, and you're listening to it right now.
And what that podcast is we analyze movie franchises. We watch each movie in the franchise and analyze if they're good, bad, do they belong, do they not belong, and why.
So what's more fun than watching a movie for enjoyment? Sitting there and dissecting every possible thing you possibly can.
Thanks for joining us today.
So we're in the middle of Phase 2, and we're talking about Captain America, the Winter Soldier. So this is the second Captain America movie. This is the 9th Marvel movie.
And I would like to start off with a question.
Mm-hmm.
When did you see this movie?
I saw this movie in 2016.
Oh, you didn't see it when it came out?
No, I bailed on Marvel after Iron Man 3. Not because of Iron Man 3. I was just like, oh, brother, poo-poo on all this stuff.
Just so much content.
And then Civil War, the trailers came out, and I hadn't seen any of the movies in between.
Right.
And I thought the trailer was really good, so I rushed and watched all the movies, and then I didn't go see it in theaters. I just kind of didn't feel like going once it came out. And then I got back on the train of Marvel.
And what did you think when you watched it?
Of Winter Soldier? I wasn't expecting much, and I was pleasantly surprised. Mm-hmm. And I was kind of like, dang, that's a cool one. That's a standout. I like that movie.
That originally is what I thought, too.
Mm-hmm.
Originally.
Mm-hmm.
I saw it in theaters.
Oh, you did?
I saw it with friends in college.
Okay.
Shout out to Hannah Hooks.
Does she listen?
I hope so.
She better.
And so I remember just thinking, I enjoyed it, but I remember thinking how violent the movie was.
Yeah.
That was my biggest takeaway. After enjoying it, it's like, man, there were like a lot of kids who saw this movie, and it's just very violent.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it seems kind of, I don't know. It seems like the standard PG-13 violent movie to me.
Yeah, I think so. I think that it was just a little bit more, for some reason. I don't know if it's the lighting, if it's the actual action or something, but it's a little bit more like gritty in that way to me.
Okay. So let me dive in.
Yeah, you're gonna have more to say than me.
Yeah, so this one is the beginning of Anthony and Joe Russo. This is their first movie, and of course we know that these are guys that are involved in directing episodes of Community, Arrested Development. I think they've done one movie before this, maybe two.
Do you know what it is?
No, I don't remember.
I'm gonna look it up as you're talking.
So this is like the beginning. It's kind of fun to watch now, and knowing that it's, because I'm sure when they joined, we didn't know that they'd kind of become like Marvel's directors. Because then they go and make Civil War, which is a big hit, and then they make the last two Avengers movies that we've all seen by now and love. So it's pretty interesting in that regard. We also have Kevin Feige produced, of course. That's the usual. We got the screenplay by Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely. Did you do any research on those guys?
Is that the same writer from the movie on Thor?
Yes, they did. I know that those two guys did.
Not Thor.
They did the first Avenger, Captain America.
Oh, I thought he also did Captain America. Oh, I thought you meant like Avengers.
Yeah, no, I need to start saying Captain America, the first Avenger.
Okay, that's what I meant, not Thor.
So they've done all three Captain movies, and then they did Infinity War and Endgame, these writers. So this crew of Anthony and Joe Russo and Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely will go on to make some of the biggest movies. Well, and like arguably the biggest movie ever made, Endgame. Hopefully by now it will have taken the record.
Arguably the best movie ever made.
Biggest movie ever made.
I just discovered something quite interesting.
Okay, jump in.
So the first movie that they directed, called Welcome to Collinwood, first movie. Check out this cast: George Clooney, Sam Rockwell, William H. Macy, Isaiah Washington, Luis Guzman, Patricia Clarkson.
They got the Guzman?
That's a crazy cast.
Yeah, that is a crazy cast.
I've never heard of this movie before.
I haven't either.
Anyway, okay, continue.
Yeah, so this is just the beginning of those 4 guys. Music is by Henry Jackman, who also does Detective Pikachu, which came out this year, The Predator, which came out last year, Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, Captain Phillips. We got cinematography by Trent Opalock, who did District 9, Chappie, Civil War.
Okay.
And then this movie was nominated for an Oscar.
For what?
Can you guess?
No.
Visual effects.
Okay.
Do you know what beat it?
2014.
Mm-hmm.
Dark Knight Rises.
No, but you're on the right path. You're in the wrong year, though.
The Dark Knight?
No.
What do you mean the right path?
Well, I mean, you got one ingredient of it right.
Okay, what?
2014, the year that the greatest movie ever made.
Interstellar
comes out.
Okay.
Yeah. A movie we'll never talk about.
This movie was nominated for Best Visual Effects.
I know. We'll have to dig into that. So domestically, box office, it got... oh, crap. I didn't figure out what the budget of this movie was. I got to do that. Now. Oh, you do? Okay. I'll do this while you look that up. Domestically, this movie made $259,766,572.
$170 million.
On a $170 million budget. Okay. And then worldwide, it made $714,264,267.
It's a lot
so
of
once
dough.
again, it's a knockout. So this is very cool, as we're very big Community fans.
Yeah.
Feige wanted to hire Joe Russo after seeing his genre parroting season 2 finale of Community, which would be the Fistful of Paintballs.
Okay, cool.
I don't know which one he directed. That one, because that's a 2-part episode.
Yeah, right.
It started as a Star Wars one. No, it ends as a Star Wars episode.
Yes, yeah, because Abed becomes Han Solo.
Yeah, so I think Joe Russo directed the Fistful of Paintballs episode, but cool. I'm gonna double check that. Fistful of Paintballs, which if you haven't seen that, it's one of my favorite episodes of TV. It's so funny.
Also, just one of the best shows.
Yeah, it really is. It does have some downs, but it's got a lot of ups, and the ups far outweigh the downs.
It's just it's a show that was continuously being.
He directed
canceled.
Both episodes.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah,
that would make sense.
Mm-hmm.
But if a show that continually had to fight to be on the air.
Oh yeah.
It's always, when you're limited, sometimes it's when you do your best work.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah.
Great. But we're not talking about that show.
We are not. So then I'll get into this. I think this sets the tone of the movie very well. This is a quote from Kevin Feige. "We hired our directors on Cap because they loved our explanation that we really wanted to make a 70s political thriller masquerading as a big superhero movie. Just like the first film, we got Joe Johnston because we said we want to do a 40s World War II movie masquerading as a big superhero movie. I love that we're doing a sequel to a film that's a completely different genre than the first film. I think that's fun, and the comics do it all the time." So that's interesting. Can I segue into something? Yeah, go.
So that makes Robert Redford a more interesting casting choice than I would have originally thought.
Yeah.
Because he's in a movie called All the President's Men, which is about as politically thrilling as you can get.
Okay. I still have yet to see that.
I feel like everyone should see it. It's about two reporters, I think Washington Post reporters, and it stars Robert Redford and Dustin Hoffman, and they're investigating the Watergate scandal, and they kind of like uncover it.
Man.
So it's like
So it's a sequel to Steven Spielberg's The Post.
No, but they're journalists, so it's really interesting investigative journalism work that really it's similar to Spotlight in that way. Oh, yeah. I guess I haven't seen The Post, so. But that's also political, or that's also journalistic.
I just said that because it's about the Washington Post, and the movie ends with the Watergate scandal beginning. Oh, so you probably could double feature them.
Probably, and yeah, so that's a more interesting casting choice now.
Yeah,
with that, so I wonder if they had him in mind.
I bet they did. It seems like they did.
And let's just say this right now, since Robert Redford's name has been brought up, one of the best heads of hair in Hollywood.
Best heads of hair in Hollywood, yeah. Not anymore though. He's retired.
True. Although didn't he direct something like not that long ago?
Well, his last movie came out last year.
Yeah, but he's still like involved in film.
Oh, is he?
I thought he directed something.
Oh, I don't know.
I'm not gonna look it up.
That's okay. We gotta stay a little bit on task.
Yeah.
Yeah, that does make that choice of him
that's cool.
Much more interesting.
Yeah.
So the stunt work in the movie was aimed for realism and practical, is okay. What they'd say. They cited the bank robbing scene in Heat and Mission Impossible Vault Heist as influences on the movie. Joss Whedon directed the mid-credit scene, which in my opinion was horrible.
It was so long.
It was so long, and well, we'll get into it because I actually have some issues with what it does story narrative-wise.
Yeah, okay.
According to The Hollywood Reporter, in 17 days, they had to make 350 versions of the movie with different sound and formats. So,
why?
I jumped into that a little bit because I was like, what in the world does that mean? So, make sure you hold that tight because I heard the wind on the mic as you moved it.
Sorry.
It's okay. We still haven't upgraded to headphones, which is why we need money for this podcast so that we can get 2 headphones. Perfect segue into begging for money.
No, please continue with this other thing.
So when I read that sentence about 350 different versions of the movie, I'm like, what does that mean? So then I go down a bit of a rabbit trail, and when a movie comes out in theaters, they come out, like every movie will come out with a bunch of different formats that compensate for different types of sound depending on the theater.
Okay.
And then you have to include like subtitles if it's going to foreign countries and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So you mix all of that together and you already have a ton of different versions of the movie. But they did this other thing in the movie. Now, this is going to take me a while to get through this. So I hope you can buckle up.
Is it interesting?
I think it's very interesting.
Okay.
But they did this other thing that's a visual thing in the movie, so it was different in different parts of the world. So if you remember in this movie, when the movie starts, Captain America meets Sam Wilson, who later becomes Falcon.
Yeah.
And Sam Wilson gives him a recommendation to listen to a Marvin Gaye record. And he pulls out a notebook, and the notebook has lists of things that he needs to check out. So in each area of the world, they put different things on his notebook.
Why? Oh, to make it relevant for their culture?
Just for fun.
Okay.
So I'm going to hit you with those.
Okay.
In Korea, we have listed on there Dance Dance Revolution, Ji-Sung Park, Old Boy, 2002 World Cup.
Yeah, culturally.
Disco.
They did it. Old Boy's on there?
Yeah.
Cool.
Russia, Yuri Gagarin, Vladimir Vysotsky, Soviet Union dissolution, 1991, Moscow doesn't believe in tears, and disco. Latin America, Chilean miners' rescues, Maradona's Hand of God, Shakira, Niravella, parentheses, first Mexican astronaut, Octavia Paz, parentheses, Nobel winner. Brazil, Arton.
Wait, are you going to go through 350?
No. There's not 350. There's a lot, though. I think it's interesting.
Okay.
Maybe someone else will.
I was just going to stop you if you were going to go to like 20 or 10. Are there 10?
Maybe.
Okay. Just keep going.
I'll skip Brazil because I don't know any of them. Okay, I'll skip Italy too.
But you don't have to. I'm just now this is becoming a thing.
Well, you're bringing up a good point. And okay, Germany, he's got currywurst, moon landing, Berlin Wall up and down, Oktoberfest, and disco again. Australia, AC/DC, space travel, Steve Irwin, Skippy the Bush Kangaroo, Tim Tams. France, this one's got one of my favorites. It's got France 98, Louis Dufour's, Coluche, The Fifth Element, and Daft Punk.
Mm-hmm. Do you have Americas?
I do.
Okay, what does it say?
We're getting there. We are getting there. Okay, we're going to skip Spain. United Kingdom, it says TV show Sherlock, Moon Landing, The Beatles, World Cup Final 1966, and Sean Connery. And then United States, it's got I Love Lucy, TV show, Moon Landing, Berlin Wall Up and Down, Steve Jobs, Apple, Disco, Thai food, Star Wars / Trek, Nirvana, band.
/ Trek.
And then Rocky, parentheses, Rocky 2, ? And then Trouble Man soundtrack. And so I believe the bottom, so from Thai food, the Thai food, Star Wars, Nirvana, Rocky, and Trouble Man, those were in all of the countries.
Okay.
But the top 5 were different depending on the location.
That's interesting.
So I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Apparently my wife hated it.
No, it's not. It's not that.
I know. No, this is the beauty of marriage. Sometimes one has to better the other because the other one is trying to fulfill a crazy obsession. Hello?
Yeah.
So anyway, that's what I got. Let's turn the mic over to you.
Okay, I don't have much because we went through pretty much everyone in the last movie and also a lot of the same cast in that way. Mm-hmm. But you have Robert Redford, who is the film's antagonist. He's been acting since 1960. Or he's been around since 1960. He's in a lot of westerns. He's also early on in his career in an episode of Twilight Zone and an episode of Hitchcock Presents.
Whoa! Can't wait to get to that one.
1969 is Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. 1974, Great Gatsby. Then All the President's Men. And then the movie he does before this one is All Is Lost. And of course, I skipped over so much.
Yeah, I mean, he's a very storied actor. Yeah.
And then you have Kobe Smulders, who in the movie she's like the faithful one to Nick Fury. Mm-hmm. And she pops up throughout Marvel.
Yeah,
a little bit forgettable because they don't really give her much to do. But she's Robin in How I Met Your Mother.
I know she falls into that category. It works okay in this movie because it's a little bit less about superheroes. But you know, a lot of people when they make these side characters, you're just kind of like, oh, they don't have any powers. Who cares?
Well, it's like, yeah, if let's say like they're writing just stuff like the whole thing, and it's like, okay, now we need to start trimming things down. She's got to be one of the first characters to go.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Because I can't even tell you what she does.
Yeah,
other than work for S.H.I.E.L.D.
She's good at her job.
Apparently, because she keeps popping up. And then you have Anthony Mackie, who plays Falcon. One of his first acting credits is he's in 8 Mile in 2002.
Oh, okay.
And then he's in the
Eminem movie.
Yeah. He's in The Manchurian Candidate and $1 Million Baby in 2004.
Wow.
Half Nelson and We Are Marshall. I wrote We Are Nelson. So he's in Half Nelson and We Are Marshall in 2006. The Hurt Locker in Eagle Eye 2008. The Adjustment Bureau in 2011. Abraham Lincoln Vampire Slayer 2012. And then Gangster Squad 2013. And then Captain America.
Wow.
I also had to skip over things. He has had quite the extensive career.
Has he really?
He seems so young to me.
Yeah, I didn't know he'd been around that long.
Yeah, I didn't even include everything that he's been in.
Wow.
But that's really all I have for people of note for me.
Okay. Well, then let's jump right into the movie.
Okay.
So the movie opens, and we got this man we've never seen who's Anthony Mackie, Sam Wilson, and Captain America keeps jogging by him in the morning, and they're at the Washington Mall. Mm-hmm. And he keeps going on your left, passing him. On your left, passes him again. So he's going much faster than him.
It's a classic meet cute situation.
It kind of is. And then afterward, he realizes it's Cap, and they talk, and that's when he gives him the Marvin Gaye recommendation. But what's kind of cool, and it happens at the end of the movie too, that I didn't realize until rewatching this movie, but Captain America keeps saying on your left, on your left, on your left, because he's passing him as he's jogging by him. And then at the end of the movie, when Cap is in the hospital, he's like, on your left, like, I'm there for you, buddy. And then when we saw Endgame, when they come back, because Falcon had disappeared, he goes, on your left to Captain before you even see anyone come out of the portals. You just hear that in his earpiece. And it's like, that's such a cool, like, tying the bow on the series.
And I should say, and I think Micah felt the same way, this character seemed so dumb to me the whole time. The whole Marvel universe, this Falcon character.
Yeah.
Because it seemed like they were just like, hey, you want to be a part of this team? We got some wings that would probably fit your wingspan. Yeah. And so then he just becomes Falcon. We realize in this movie, when he's basically giving Cap his resume because he wants to help them, it's like, and he's like, I thought you were a pilot. And he said, I never said pilot. And you're like, oh, he's always been the Falcon.
Yeah. So
it's like, cool. It's like, explained.
I didn't like the character because of my own misunderstanding of something that's public, like pretty knowledge. Like everybody knows about it.
Yeah. So
and I thought he was really good in this movie.
Oh yeah, he was great.
When I was watching this movie, it affirmed to me that they made the right choice giving that Cap gave him the shield at the end of Endgame instead of giving it to Bucky. Because it doesn't make any sense
when
to
at the end of Endgame when he gave it to him, like I thought that was cool, but now it's so much cooler to me.
Yeah, it totally
it's like, this guy does deserve it.
Yeah, he's like an upstanding, he is like Captain America, where it's like he's sort of blameless. I'm sure he makes mistakes, but he's like he's
fighting
character.
For the good of everyone. Yeah. So we don't find that out until later, obviously. But so you find out early on. So like, okay, this has been since Avengers. This has been since Captain America. But like since Avengers, we now it's a little bit chaotic now because of Avengers. Like how they touched on in Iron Man 3. It's like aliens exist now. Who can we trust? Yeah. Basically. So the SHIELD / the government has created a plan to like monitor every person. Yeah. And Captain America is like, no, he's against that.
Yeah, that's that's a little bit later because we haven't touched on the pirate boat scene yet.
Oh yeah.
Because I think that's what I want to talk about, that scene.
Okay.
Because
fine.
I know, I'm jumping back, but I took notes on the plot so that we wouldn't lose anything.
That's boring.
No, here's the thing. I disagree. The pirate scene, so Cap is ordered to go to this ship where they have all these SHIELD agents at gunpoint. These pirates who took over the ship. Yeah. And so they go and he bless you.
Thank you.
He breaks into the boat with other SHIELD agents and Black Widow.
Black Widow, yeah.
And they're fighting, and what this establishes for the movie is it kind of is, I think, the filmmaker's way of being like, this is the movie that you're going to see. This is an action, like, we're going to show you new action you haven't seen in this series before. It's a lot more physical, like hand-to-hand.
And violent. I guess that's might be why it feels violent.
Yeah, it is, like you said earlier, it's like grittier action. You're not going to... I mean, yes, he's like kicking people and they're flying really far, but it's not like... it's not like the previous movie's action where it's like, I don't know, it's a little lackluster.
So I have like an opinion about the action.
Okay.
So if you're gonna try to if your goal is to achieve action like that, you need to not have such tight shots, because the whole movie, just so much of the action was so tight that it didn't really. It was like, oh, okay, so that's not Chris Evans doing it. That's what it tells me. Yeah. And then like his fight with Bucky later on. I know I'm jumping forward, but that scene when they're in the underpass fighting Bucky, and it was an interesting whole sequence, like
it's a great sequence.
Exciting scene, but the shots are so close to them. Like I want to see as if I'm a bystander standing, yards, like a couple yards away, and I want it to be longer. I want it to be not so quick. That's an opinion. Yeah. Of course. That's not to say that anything they did was like bad.
No, I definitely prefer that, but I think for this movie, especially when you're dealing with these themes of like you can't trust people, conspiracy, 70s thriller, and it's already based on like we're used to a certain style of action, to change it even as little as they do, to just make it a little bit more intense and even tighter, I think it was the right call, and I like it. I mean, it would definitely be nice if action movies did pull out their shots a little bit more and stuff. But I mean, there's some great action sequences.
And
in
I
this
do
movie.
appreciate that they do try to make it more real, I guess.
Like to the element that they should. They're not worried about like making it real, but grounding it
realistic
a little bit. Yeah,
looking and stuff.
But yeah, so they fight on this boat, and that kind of like sets the tone of the movie to me.
Okay.
And right away, you see Black Widow. she's getting this flash drive for some reason. And Cap's like, what are you doing? And he's realizing that she was here to get like secrets about S.H.I.E.L.D., not to help these hostages. And so, again, right away, they're kind of setting up like this movie is about mistrust.
It's about conspiracy, too.
And you're not going to know who's who or what's what and what's really going on. We got that, yeah.
So then jump forward.
To
Captain America learning about the government planning on monitoring people with these giant planes that will like constantly be in the air.
Yes.
And he's against it because it's like taking away people's right to privacy.
Mm-hmm.
In a way that kind of like introduces Robert Redford, seeing that he's pretty much the person in charge of that stuff.
Yeah.
And then isn't there a scene with Captain America arguing with Nick Fury about this?
Yeah, and he says this great quote where he says, "This isn't freedom, it's fear."
Yes.
And so remember on our first Captain America movie, I was talking about how that movie like represents the ideal American in the 1940s.
Mm-hmm.
Like doing your duty, loving your country, and going and fighting evil.
Mm-hmm.
And why I think the Captain America character in the series is so strong is because they do like they do in the comic books, where they take Captain America and he's always sort of the ideal what an American should be. So right now, when you put him in our modern times, this old man in our modern times, and he has to deal with things like the Patriot Act after 9/11, where now everyone, including this podcast, might be monitored by
the government.
The government. Well, of course, I mean, it'd be great if people we had more listeners. We always want more listeners, but you know, phone conversations, text messages, all this stuff. And so, to take Captain America, who, you know, someone you might have a conversation with them, and they're like, "Oh yeah, well, I'm fine with all this stuff because that's what America is." But Captain America isn't that. He questions what America should be.
Yes.
And he is challenging it because he's seeing that it's wrong and it's taking away like the true American. So his patriotism is actually, it's not a blind patriotism.
Yes.
And this is what this movie touches on, and that's why I like this movie.
Yes.
That's like one of the main reasons why I like this movie, because it really digs into that.
Yeah, I think it's such a cool concept to explore, especially as very topical.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Too. Yeah, I agree with everything you're saying.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We also got to show that in that same scene, Nick Fury says, "The last time I trusted someone, I lost an eye." And so we find out in Captain Marvel, he lost an eye from the cat monster scratching it out. So when you look at it that way, that's a little bit of a bummer. I remember I really like Captain Marvel, but I remember I was kind of like, that's how he lost his eye. Like, that kind of sucks a little bit.
Oh, I kind of liked it.
Like, it's funny, but it's kind of like they turned something that could have maybe been a really defining moment for him into a joke, you know?
Yeah, I guess that's
and
true.
So it's
like, it's
kind of
a growing moment. It's probably the catalyst of his life or something.
Yeah, you could have had some character in there that he did trust, and they cut out his eye or something
Thor
weird
losing
like that.
his eye.
Yeah, how did he lose it
Kate
again?
Blanchett takes out his eye.
Oh, dang.
And that means, like, that's meaningful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is just like throwing it away for a dumb joke.
Yeah. So is it soon after the scene when Nick Fury is driving his car?
Yeah. Oh, well, first, before that, we have the Peggy scene where she has Alzheimer's and she's an old woman. Peggy Carter.
Oh, gosh.
And I want you to jump in this because you have some flaming hot opinions on
it's obviously the Haley... what's her name? I don't know. It's the actress. It's Peggy. It's the actress that plays Peggy. And dressed up as an old woman, wrinkles on her face, all of that. First of all, it always bothers me when it's a severely elderly person and her hair is beautiful. No. Just no. She's on her deathbed. Like, I don't know. It's just like, if anything, to me, it's like, oh, so is she vain? Like, if anything? Yeah. And then also, something was wrong with her mouth.
Yeah, there were a few shots where the mouth was CG. I think you were correct.
And I don't understand why. And I also think another reason why it looked off is because she's this old woman. Everything looks old about her, but her teeth are immaculate. And I've never seen an old person with teeth that good.
Yeah, and I think we touched on this. I think that it wasn't something like so at the end of Endgame, I keep on talking about Endgame, but at the end of Endgame, we have Chris Evans return as an old Captain America. Mm-hmm. It's pretty essential that it's the same actor and that you age him up.
Yeah.
You just have to. Peggy, you don't have to do it. You could just cast an old lady who's a good actress to be it. Mm-hmm. I think it would actually be a little more impactful.
Yeah, I think so too.
You just have to show a picture by the bedside because no one looks the way they looked when they were 20.
And to be just honest, I have no idea what they talked about because I was so distracted.
Yeah.
Do you know what they talked about?
Well, he was.
Was it just like? I mean, was it just like this stuff's going on and I don't know what's going and like it's making me really nervous and he's just talking to her about it?
Well, I think it was more like it's good to see you. What's going on? Have you heard the new Marvin Gaye album? I just listened to it. Sam Wilson told me to listen to it.
No, that's not their conversation.
No, it wasn't.
Anyway.
But they did establish that she has Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
Because halfway through the conversation, she goes, "Steve, how are you here?"
Yeah.
Which is just kind of whatever to me.
Yeah.
I know that in Civil War, they're at her funeral.
Oh, really?
So I thought that was in this movie, but...
Oh, okay.
Yeah, anyway.
Yeah, so then the next scene is Nick Fury in his car.
And this scene is cool.
Yeah.
Because this is the scene where Nick Fury pulls up. Sam Jackson, at this time, he's got to be 65 in real life?
At least.
Which is just crazy. Because, listener, this podcast is coming out this year, so even though we're ahead of the game here, believe us or don't believe us, but look it up. Sam Jackson is 70 years old this year. In 2019, Sam Jackson is 70. I don't know when his birthday is, so maybe he's 71 by the time this comes out. And I just can't believe it. He's got to be the best-looking 70-year-old that ever walked on this darn earth.
No question about it.
Yeah, he is like, it's actually unbelievable. If I think about it too much, it just kind of makes me smile because I can't crack it.
Yeah.
It's like he is a good movie.
Yeah.
It's just a little bit of a mystery and you just love it and want to know more.
So he to jump back into the movie. So he's pulled up at the stoplight. There's a police officer staring him down and he makes some comment to him and he starts driving again and then immediately he's boxed in by like 3 police cars.
And they just pull out these huge like M16s and just start ripping his car apart. But he has a shield car, which I also think is so cool, and it has all these different abilities.
So this is what I think. Remember, he injected himself with something.
Yeah, it was like a...
Was it the thing that slowed down his heart rate? Or was it adrenaline?
I think it was an anesthetic or something. Because his arm broke.
Oh, it probably was just
crash.
Like a pain reliever.
Yeah, I think...
Oh, yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Because he broke his arm because of the...
Yeah, and the car's like, we detect you have broken your arm.
Yeah.
Do you want anesthetic? And he's like, yeah, give me the anesthetic. Like, pulls it out.
Yeah.
Does it, and the car's taking all these bullets. And then it's like, power low. And he's like, get me out of here. And then he switches seats, and this gun comes out of the middle console. He points it at the driver's side. He goes, roll down the window, and he starts unloading and just kills all these guys.
Yeah.
And then... and then the car's like powering on, and then he takes off, and it's another great chase. And this, again, action sequence wise, really good directing. I think this is like, this scene and the scene with Winter Soldier on the overpass are like worth the price of admission alone.
Yeah.
But he's going, and then Winter Soldier, which is so cool. This character we don't know about, and as a viewer, I'm going, there's no way he's related to any other characters. Does he show up in this scene? Yeah, he shows up. He shoots a bomb at the...
Oh, duh.
At Sam's car, and it goes flying in the air, and he just takes one step to the side as the car flies by him, and then he runs over to the car, rips it open with his cool metal arm, and then... there's been like a laser in the concrete and Sam Jackson escaped to the tunnels.
Yes.
To the sewers.
Yes. Yes. Okay, sorry, I'm trying to remember. So then you discover, I mean, is there anything that happens specifically in between? Because I know that he goes to Steve Rogers' apartment.
That's the next scene.
That's the next scene. Yeah. So like this girl next door is like, oh, you left your stereo on, and now so he goes in through the window.
Which very 70s thriller,
yeah, really cool.
Like him to be like, I would never leave my radio on.
Right. So he goes in there. It's Nick Fury, and Nick Fury's talking, but he's not saying anything because he shows him on his phone.
Yeah, they're having a dummy conversation.
Yeah. So it's like there are ears everywhere. Everyone's listening to us. Mm-hmm. Trust no one. And then before he can do anything else, someone shoots him, like a sniper shoots him like 3 times in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the end of the movie.
Yeah.
No, it's not. Yeah, and then Cap tries to stop him.
He gives him the flash drive, right? Yeah, he gives him the flash drive.
That
happens in that scene.
Black Widow had got on the boat.
That has all of that information on it. And he still has no idea what this is. Mm-hmm. And earlier Nick Fury tried accessing the information and he couldn't. It was blocked.
Yeah.
So he's basically given to Steve, like, figure it out. Mm-hmm. And then it moves to surgery being performed on Nick Fury to save his life.
Yeah.
And he dies.
Mm-hmm. And then when they're there, he hides the flash drive because Nick told him not to trust anybody, but he's also suspicious of Nick.
Yeah.
And then that's when he meets Robert Redford,
mm-hmm.
and Robert Redford's putting some suspicion on like Nick, and he's kind of like, you know, he told you your apartment was bugged, but did he tell you that he was the one that bugged it?
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's kind of like, he's not the shining angel you think he is.
But he's also questioning him. He's like, what was the last thing he said to you?
Yeah.
He tells him, which is really just nothing. And it's almost as if he doesn't believe Steve.
Yeah, and he can tell it's going to be an issue, which leads to another great scene in the movie, which is the elevator scene.
Oh, wait, before that, though. So that scene in particular, when he is talking to Robert Redford, that scene was so terribly lit. That's the scene where there was that giant window, like a wall of a window, and Robert Redford's already wearing a white shirt, and it's white the whole time. This whole entire movie, it's just sunny outside. It's like barely nighttime in this movie. There's visually hardly any contrast, and it's kind of an ugly movie.
Yeah. So then I was gonna save this. Let's jump into that conversation. So this is there's only one night sequence in the movie,
and that's when they go to that bunker.
Well, maybe there's some other there's like one action sequence.
Okay.
And it's at night, and that's the boat at the beginning of the movie.
Right.
So there's this issue that will kind of arise in more of the movies that I actually didn't notice till I watched this video by this YouTuber named Patrick Willems, and he talked about it's called The Limitations of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, if you're interested, listener. But one of the things he talked about is the lighting. And how, especially from like phase 2 on, a lot of the movies, like all of the battles, just take place in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
And so there's not much.
Why do they do that?
There's not like shadows, and I'm sure
there's no depth.
Yeah, there's no depth. I'm sure I could guess that probably a lot of it comes from like it's probably easier to do CGI.
Okay.
Because you don't have to worry about as many shadows in situations. It's probably
so it's cutting corners.
Just easier to light and stuff. But it's also maybe possible that no one's really thinking about it.
Yeah.
I don't know. But probably
it's not. It's just crazy to me. Like they're gonna do the watch backs at the end of the day. They're gonna watch what they did.
Yeah.
And
the dailies, as it were.
Yeah, and even before anything's been color corrected, shouldn't you see that Robert Redford is like disappearing in the sunlight in that scene?
Yeah.
Even before color correction. And it's odd to me.
It is very odd because it does provide like kind of a lack of depth. I remember at the end of the movie when the last sequence was happening, I was like, this one's in daylight too?
Yeah. And that I remember in that video that guy did, a big thing that he talked about was, especially during this phase, nothing is truly black. No color is truly black, and you need to have like the color black pretty much everywhere,
so you
because
can have
it provides
a hard
depth.
contrast.
Yeah.
And
so there is no contrast.
Yeah, and And you don't have to do that with every movie. Like I don't know if it was that video or another one where someone pointed out that like in Spotlight there's a lot of like muted colors, but it really adds to the somber nature of the storytelling.
Yes.
But in this, it's like we're talking about superheroes. These are colorful things. The movies should be colorful.
Yeah.
And I think, to my eye, which is not super trained in noticing lighting, I'm like just now getting into that after watching those videos. I think that Endgame did a good job with lighting. Mm-hmm. And especially, I was really excited when the final battle happens in like this weird, dark,
twilighty
dusk.
Yeah,
and that looked way better than, say, the Battle of Wakanda in Infinity War, which is just
so bright
in the daylight.
Yeah.
So
also you said Infinity War.
Yeah.
Also Black Panther.
Yeah, Black Panther.
Yeah.
But then when you look at like Guardians of the Galaxy 2, that movie just looks. It's so vibrant.
Yeah.
It's just like this beautiful looking movie. And even though some of the effects look a little weird or whatever.
I would take that every day
it's
over
like colorful
the other stuff.
And the sets are pretty cool.
Because it's a creative choice.
Yeah.
To me. That's why it's more interesting.
Well, and another thing we'll get into on Civil War, which is the next Russo brothers movie, is it's like there's a climax at an airport and the whole sequence just kind of looks like washed out concrete.
Okay.
And I've seen stuff from it since someone pointed that out, and it's like, oh yeah, this should be like explosive in colors. You're seeing these clash of heroes. But we're not talking about that one yet.
Oh, that scene. Sorry.
Yeah.
When we watched Civil War together, and I don't know if I've rarely been more bored in a movie than that one. So I forgot so much of it.
But having said all that, I mean, we're just talking about the pros and the cons. I mean, I think like the Nick Fury sequence and the sequence on the overpass, I think it's cool that they're in broad daylight because it adds the tension of normal day traffic.
Well, yeah, you have that. But you could also do that at dusk at rush hour.
The other movies could, or I think if they did like those two in broad daylight and the rest of the sequences at different times of day, the movie would be like 5% better.
Yeah.
And it would add a thrill to it.
Just because it's different.
And it would just look a little
Just
better.
because you're changing a location doesn't mean it's as refreshing as you might think it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's more than just a location change that you need to be thinking of. You need to be thinking of time of day because of the colors.
Totally.
Russo brothers.
Well, I mean, they did a great job on Endgame. And I think a majority of Infinity War looks great.
Yeah, it does.
It's kind of just the Wakanda scene doesn't look awesome. And that doesn't really bother me.
Yeah, you're right. Anyway, to jump back into the story.
Well, are we going to just turn this episode into the last two Avenger movies?
It sounds like it.
So now we're at the elevator scene.
Takes place in daylight.
Takes place in
daylight.
Very washed out. But
cool action sequence.
I know you could almost fix that by just making it a closed-in elevator.
Yep.
And like metal and like a wood and maybe even like oh my gosh, here's the fix on that. If you want to make that sequence look better, he walks in and it's a closed one, but it's like neon colors because it's an elevator. It's just like different colors and it's neon.
So you want some John Wick action up in there?
Yeah, or this might even help too. Like there's a light up above and they kick it out during the fight and it flickers during the fight. So it just provides some like extra pizzazz.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about it.
Having said that, I love the elevator sequence. And they put Cap in those handcuffs that are magnetic, which is very cool. Mm-hmm. And it's all just this hand-to-hand stuff. Which
and the handcuffs came from a briefcase handle.
Very cool.
Yeah.
It's just like this stuff has kind of been lacking in the previous movies. Not that it was necessarily like you had to have hand-to-hand combat, but we haven't had like this style. So it looks really refreshing as a viewer. So that sequence is cool. Then he goes to the vending machine.
Well, why is he suspicious of them as why is he fighting them?
Well, because...
does he know why?
I mean, I think... Well, what are you trying to get me to answer? Or
it's just like... So that's before he knows about Hydra, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think Nick maybe tells him, like, don't trust anybody.
Yeah.
So he's in that elevator and... I mean, I can't remember why.
Well, his conversation with Robert Redford didn't go well. And then Robert Redford's like, you should attack Cap.
Oh, okay. I guess he probably would just infer that. That makes sense.
Yeah, and when he's in the elevator, he's just seeing that as he's going down, more and more like big guys are getting in.
Yeah.
And it's like pretty obvious they're going to attack him. And then what does he say? He says like, does anyone want to get off this elevator before it goes down or something like that?
Cool. So then after that is what?
Then he goes back to the hospital, and he had put the flash drive in a vending machine. And then he goes to get it, and it was in a gum, and then someone blows a bubble in his face, and it's Black Widow, and she had got it.
So then they confront each other, basically saying, who are you working for? What's going on? How can I trust you? And then it ends with, okay, we know that we can trust each other.
But they're still a pinch suspicious, but they don't really go much further than that.
No. So they decide to work together to figure out how to open the flash drive. And to figure out how to do it, they go to an Apple store. And they pinpoint where the flash drive was created, or where the information was first created or something.
Yeah.
And let's get into something really quick that we haven't yet.
Okay.
The baseball cap.
Okay, this is such a thing with Jordan. So you can have the floor.
Disclaimer, I know that there are baseball caps that are blank. I know people wear them. I get it. For movies, it is so distracting to me when someone's wearing, especially I guess sometimes in Marvel, I don't know, it's like he's wearing a baseball cap that it looks like he bought 2 seconds before he put it on his head, and it was just, I just want a black one. It's got to be black and it's got to be nothing. I think it is such a missed opportunity to show, like, is he what baseball team does he like? Put a logo on there, like
it's
make
just
a
weird
statement.
because you can't buy blank hats hardly.
And I think that it makes him more conspicuous than inconspicuous. That's what bothers me.
Yeah.
Because he wears them to hide himself. Yeah. And to me, it's like he's walking in a crowd of people. And I'm like, oh, because his baseball cap is blank.
Who is that guy?
I know that's Chris Evans. I know that's Captain America. And it bugs me so much. And it's also like I said, why don't you just have some fun with it and put a logo on there?
Well, and it would have been cool because at the end of First Avenger, or Captain America, the First Avenger, he is listening to a baseball game.
Thought, yeah.
And he loves, I don't remember what teams are playing, but he's kind of like, oh, he's got to be a Yankees guy,
that's
right?
Because
he's from the Bronx.
Yankees.
And he's like, he says to her that he's already heard that game. So he pays attention to baseball. So throw a Yankees hat on him.
Yeah. And scene.
And then you also have like a little bit of a character thing as well. Like,
just a tiny bit character development. Please. Okay, we're done with that.
Blank hats Jordan hates.
We're done with that. So move on to they find the location of where this information was first received, I guess.
And before that, we find out which, there's rumors that there's going to be a Black Widow movie, and it would be cool, I think, if they flesh this out. Black Widow has encountered the Winter Soldier. And she tells that to Captain America.
Oh, that's right.
So as a side note, it would be cool if they were integrated in that same movie.
Yes. And another little side note, something that I find interesting is Scarlett Johansson's look changes pretty dramatically from movie to movie. And this movie, it's very different. And right off the bat, Micah said that she looks not great in this movie. And I was thinking about it, and she just doesn't look like she wears...
Don't throw me under the bus
we had a conversation while we were watching the movie. And she's like wearing probably the least amount of makeup than she does in all of the other movies. And it's just a very dramatic change, and it makes her look a little bit more tired. And also her hair was super curly in the last movie. Now it's just straight.
Yeah.
And I want someone to write an article about, or write an essay about her look and whoever was in charge of her look, what they were going for from movie to movie, because they had to have known the goal, from beginning to end.
Because to me, it's like it's actually a little bit confusing how different she looks in every movie. It's a little bit like, huh?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what they're going for in this movie. I don't know what they were going for in the previous.
That's why I want to know. That's why I'm curious.
And even like another Endgame reference, but like in Endgame, Captain Marvel cuts her hair, and it doesn't look great, but you're like I get it, she cut her hair, and they even like mention something about it. Yeah. But in this, it's like every time she's in a movie, her hair is different and she looks a little bit different, and it's just like, I just don't understand what they're trying to do.
Is it because part of her character is trying? You know, she did the bad things for so many years of her life.
I guess she is a
for
spy,
the bad guys.
So.
Well, I don't think it's. I mean, I'm sure that's part of it, but like she's worked for the bad guys for most of her career, and now she's working for the good guys, and maybe she's just trying to find herself.
Okay.
Throughout it,
I'll take that.
I wonder if that's like part of it. Now that we're on the subject of her, though, she didn't bug me as much as she originally has always bugged me in this movie. So
here's what I want to say about this movie. I think that her character's arc is pretty well written.
Yes.
Her dialogue's okay.
Yeah.
It's not great, but it's kind of whatever. It's a little bit too quippy.
Yeah.
But I think, and I don't know if this is direction or her choice, because in the previous two movies, I didn't really like her character. Or previous two appearances. This one, it's like, I don't like what she is doing as an actress with the character.
Yeah.
Like, I imagine another person in that role not doing the thing she's doing and me not being bothered by it.
Yeah.
Because there's just this weird, like, the way she's delivering her dialogue that's kind of, it's just annoying to me. And I can't put my finger on it. And in Endgame, she's not doing that. Or Infinity War. So I don't know if there's, like, I just don't get it, because everyone else in the series is so complete from each movie to each movie, and I don't know why her character in particular is so different every movie she's in.
Scarlett Johansson's trying to find herself from movie to movie. She's been working for the bad guys for her whole career, and now she's finally working for the good guys.
I don't know. I don't mean to bash her. And she's done great work, and we just have been really, from the beginning that we have seen her, the first time we had watched Iron Man, have just been trying to figure out Scarlett Johansson as an actress as well as Black Widow. Yeah.
And I think that I'm like coming around on her.
I think I am too.
But I'm still, like you're saying, I'm still a little confused by some choices.
Yeah, and I don't know who's making these decisions that aren't making sense to me.
Yeah.
Because there's so much that goes into a movie, so it might be her, it might be the directors, it might be the writer. Who knows?
Yeah.
Could be your hair designer. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just odd.
Yeah, it's interesting.
But her and Cap, they get to the old barracks where Captain America was made.
Yes.
And they go downstairs into this barrack, and they find a computer system. And there is a person that lives inside the computer named Zola.
Zoller.
Zola.
Oh, I thought it was Zoller.
No.
I think that might be a real person.
And he is a Swiss guy.
Never mind.
And he's in the first Captain America movie. And he's the scientist that works with Red Skull. Mm-hmm. What do you we didn't talk about this. What do you think of a man living inside a computer?
It's cool.
Okay, because I think it's super cool, and I like how the computers are old.
Yeah, I like it.
He's retro looking.
I liked how that scene. I like how that scene was shot.
Yeah,
A very cool scene.
And it was a smart way to dump all the exposition that they needed to dump.
Yeah,
because you're finding out that Hydra's been behind like the world's, just like the world economy, and all these other things and
events that take place.
Yeah, and then you find out that Winter Soldier is also their main weapon that they've been using to do all of this stuff. And I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then it's
self-destruct. No.
It shoots a missile.
Hydra is coming to kill them, and they make it out.
Yeah. Yeah, they jump down a thing.
After they learn everything. So it's basically like Hydra's been behind the thing the whole time, and it's like, oh, conspiracy unraveled. And that before they even have time to like really think about it, they're attacked.
Yeah. And once again, that's cool conspiracy fun stuff.
Yeah, I like it.
So I like all of that weird S.H.I.E.L.D. and Hydra using S.H.I.E.L.D. to, because basically they want to have a weapon where if there's ever an issue with any person, they can kill him in an instant.
Yeah.
And then they would get rid of all the threats in humanity, which was something like
20 million people.
I think wasn't it like 200 million people?
No, because I think Robert Redford said to save the 8 million people on this planet, we need to sacrifice 20 million people. I think it was 20 million.
8 billion. Yeah.
Oh, did I say million?
Yeah.
$1 billion. Yeah. Which is, I just like things like, so motives like that, it's really similar to Thanos if you think about it, because his is overpopulation and is what's killing just the universe, and his solution is to get rid of half of it. So to him it's sacrificing the population to save the population. Great. So
and because this movie is a parallel to how our nation currently is, which I think adds a cool element to the movie, is it we do live in times where it's like, oh, we drone striked this area, but because we did that, we hopefully prevented the loss of this many people.
Yeah.
And the movie actually is not necessarily condemning that idea.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's saying you need to be careful with that idea.
With that power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's condemning this version of that idea. But
so where do they go after that?
Then they're believed to be dead, along with Nick Fury and them, and they go to Sam Wilson's house because it's the only person that he can trust. And this is a great scene for Black Widow because she says, I used to work for the KGB, now I work for Hydra. Yeah. And she's like, I thought that I had like righted my wrongs, but I was working for the wrong again.
Yeah.
And so you're seeing her inner torment.
Yeah, I like that.
And then we find out who Falcon is and what he does. And then he puts on those crazy goggles that look very bad. Puts on his suit. And then what do? They stop a SHIELD guy and they find out information and throw him off a building. And then Falcon catches him.
Oh, before that, though, we are gloriously reintroduced to that politician from Iron Man 2.
Yeah, who says F you, Tony Stark.
And like I think I said, I was like, it's like this guy is a retired politician who is just like an amateur actor, and he knows exactly what he's doing.
Yeah.
He's in the movie maybe for 1 minute.
Yeah.
Like all together. And I'm just like, it's like, sir, you don't know how much you've done for this movie.
Yeah.
Sir, you don't know how much you've done for this country. It's so
he really
good.
does elevate the movie.
Yeah, he's great. So yeah, with that being said, they get the Hydra guy and
then that's when they find that's when they do the freeway scene.
Yes.
And I mean, again, kind of like all of our Mad Max stuff, it's like, what are we going to do? Explain the action that happens in this movie? I mean, at this scene. But Bucky attacks, or I mean, Winter Soldier attacks. Winter Soldier attacks, and this is like the highlight of the movie to me. I loved this scene. It's in broad daylight again, but I think it's a really cool scene.
It shows how invincible Winter Soldier is.
Yeah, and then you find out that it's Bucky, and Black Widow does that fun thing where she puts a phone that is like saying all this stuff, and he blows up this car, and then she was never in that area. It was just like projecting the sound.
The interesting part is when Captain America realizes it's Bucky, he says Bucky, and Bucky says, who's Bucky?
Yeah, but he's also like, it's almost like he just took a punch.
Yeah,
because he's like dazed for a second.
It did reach the very like depths of who he is, but the brainwashed version of him is just like, what? So you discover this isn't truly Bucky who's fighting him. Plus, it's just a shock because the last time we saw Bucky, he fell off of a cliff.
Yeah.
So he thought he was dead.
And I remember thinking to myself, that I wish I could have read the comics when they made up the Winter Soldier character, because I'm sure that run was probably for a while, and people are like, who is this guy? And then it's revealed to be Bucky, and everyone was probably like,
yeah.
So, kind of cool.
Yeah.
And then Colby Smulders comes out and
saves them.
She saves them, and then
takes them to Nick, who did not die.
Mm-hmm. And he faked his death so that they could figure out what was going on.
Yes. And then I like the argument he has between Captain America, like Nick and Captain America have, because Nick's trying to like explain everything and what needs to be done, and Captain America's like, he's like, how do we, like, he's basically convicting Nick for like, how come you never did anything to stop it?
Yeah.
And then Nick's like, I have been, it's like, I'm here right now, aren't I? Like, I made sure I didn't die so that I can continue to help. So like in a way, he's like, I have had to create my own conspiracy to like by the end of it stop the conspiracy.
Yeah,
which is really interesting. But it does get to the argument comes to a head when Captain America is like, okay, no, this is what we're doing, and he makes the plan.
Yeah,
which is like cool. He's taking control now.
Mm-hmm. And that's when they decide to break into S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yes, and they need to put like 3 chips in all 3 planes.
Yeah, some
like,
arbitrary thing.
Yeah, it's like, okay, so we have the numbers 3.
Yeah. And this is cool because he breaks into the place with the announcement.
Yeah,
like with the loudspeaker, and you see Abed from Community, which is something that all the Marvel movies have had either a reference to Arrested Development or Community. Mm-hmm. Which we'll try and cover all of them if we can. So this one's got an actor from Community, and
probably the best one because he's the movie nerd.
Yeah,
the show,
and he does kind of play a pinch like maybe it's his character who got cast in the movie.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Captain America makes this thing where he makes this announcement in S.H.I.E.L.D. where he goes, if you are. Like he goes, Hydra has infiltrated this place. We can't let these helicarriers come out. Mm-hmm. Like, stand up for your country. Uh-oh, she's gonna sneeze. Bless you. Thanks. And then that goes into this cool scene where this guy comes in and he's like, okay, launch the helicarriers into this room, he's telling him. And this one guy's like, I won't do it. And he's just a normal guy.
Great acting.
Yeah, he does great because he's so scared, but he's like, no, I can't do it.
Yeah.
Like Captain America just told me not to do it.
The song I'm Proud to Be an American starts playing.
Yeah.
And it's not in the back. It's not like the soundtrack. It's like someone on his computer started playing.
That's so stupid. But actually, really great joke. Best joke of the whole series of our podcast.
Thanks.
But so that shows that tension, and then the room turns into a big standoff with Hydra and then all these other people. We did neglect to mention that Stan Lee makes a cameo in this movie.
Not until the end.
No, he's already made it.
Not until now, yeah.
Yeah, so unlike all the other movies, Stan Lee's in this one.
Unlike all the other
It was
ones?
a joke because he's in all the movies.
Okay.
But he's in a museum because there's a Captain America museum, and Cap had to break into it at the Smithsonian and steal his old costume because his other one was ruined or blew up or something. I don't think
he had access to it.
Oh, okay.
Because it's at S.H.I.E.L.D.
Oh, okay.
I assume that's what it was.
But he gets it, and then Stanley looks and sees a mannequin that doesn't have a costume on it anymore, and he goes, I am so fired.
Yeah.
And it's kind of cool because now you see him in his old costume again. Mm-hmm. And so... Yeah, the standoff.
So here we go. Here we go with this. So they have to do 3 things. So Falcon starts flying around in the air.
I mean, we can probably just skip the sequence.
Well, I'm just like, okay. So then you have Black Widow doing something else, and then you have Steve Rogers trying to put the chips in each one, and you're like, this is exciting for about 2 minutes, and then it's just like, oh my gosh, this is going on forever. And it got to a point where Micah couldn't even remember if Chris Evans had put the chips in there. Like, it had been going on for that long.
Well, I said, is this just one? Is this the first one?
Yeah.
And you're like, no, he did it in 2 others. And I was like, oh, crap. I think, this last sequence, I think along with all of the other movies, for all the movies so far, I think if you shave off 10 minutes from the final battle, like 5 to 10 minutes, the movie is better.
Yeah.
And it's like we've seen such cool action in this movie, so then when they go to like top it, it's a lot of explosions and a lot of fake stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just not as cool as the rest of the action sequences in the movie.
Yeah, so you're just kind of like, okay, we know he's going to get it, so like let's just like
I mean, the more exciting scene in that is when Black Widow breaks into the chairman meeting, and
that's true.
Robert Redford like kills all the people with these chips.
But like before, she at whatever gets to a point where Robert Redford is the one who is like has a gun against him, and she is putting all of the conspiracy information onto the internet. so that everyone knows the truth.
And Nick Fury has to open something with his eye that's scratched out by the cat. Well, you know, those are like very specific details. Anyway, like that's more exciting than the actual fight.
Yes, I agree.
And then Cap and Bucky fight, and then you know they save the day, but then Bucky's still fighting Cap, and Cap's like, "I'm not going to fight back. I'm not going to fight back." And then
Bucky keeps punching him. Bucky stops. The thing crashes in the water, and Captain America goes into the water. And then by the end, you see Bucky has dragged Captain onto shore and then walks away.
Yeah.
Oh, but before that, we didn't talk about was when... So after the first time you realized it was Bucky at that fight scene, it then shows Bucky in that room, sitting on that chair, and Robert Redford's like asking him questions. And Bucky's saying like Bucky's essentially like questioning everything that's going on with his life ever since he probably woke up from being frozen. And it ends with Robert Redford saying, brainwash him again. Like start over.
Yeah.
So when he sees Bucky again in this final fight scene, it's like he's even stronger brainwash. It's even more like he can't talk to him. But then with it ending with Bucky saving him, you know that he's still not completely gone.
Yeah. And then he leaves the screen to have more character development off screen again. Bucky's one of my biggest problems with the MCU people. And it's not because of these first two movies, because they do an okay job. It's what they do with Civil War, because like all of his development is off screen. And when you are not watching the movies back to back to back, it's like, wait, who is he again? Like, why is he doing this?
He's Steve Rogers' best friend, right? Like, it's just that.
And I think in Civil War it kind of falls apart. I mean, I'll be happy to admit I'm wrong if I'm wrong, but I just remember when we watched it and I hadn't seen Winter Soldier for a while, and I was kind of like, I don't understand what he's doing. I thought he was fine.
Yeah. So,
have all that. I mean, that's the movie.
Yeah.
The other, so a couple of things I wanted to talk about the movie as a whole. There's this kind of idea I've been throwing around in my head since we watched it, that all of the movies we have watched, without exception, for the MCU, in my head, no matter how good they are, I'm just like, oh, but I can't wait until we get to Phase 3, where the new Avengers movies and like Black Panther and stuff like that. And I'm wondering if once they make a Phase 4, if when we're watching Phase 3 movies, if I'm going to be like, I wish I was watching Phase 4. Because as opposed to a series like, I'm trying to think of a good one. I mean, Star Wars is the one that comes to mind, where it's like I can watch the old movies and be just as happy as watching the new ones that I also really like. Maybe the prequels.
You mean the prequels?
We're gonna throw those to the side for the sake of this. And I'm just wondering if these movies are even possible for them to have like a timeless effect. And I'm not saying that they're not, and I'm not saying I'm not enjoying them. I'm even enjoying the rewatches. I'm just saying, and it's not bad to make a movie that's not timeless, but I'm just throwing it out there. Like, are these the kind of movies that in 20 years, people like us are going to be like, okay, Iron Man 1, let's start it and let's watch all 58 Marvel movies? Or are they just going to be like, let me just Google the ones that we have to watch to get the storyline?
I think that so far, with the exception of some just genuinely bad ones, like most of them are good, a few of them are great. Yeah. And I think that's why you feel that way.
But in my head, it's like there's a much more greats in Phase 3. But I wonder if, once we get to Phase 4, if I'm going to... Because, like, Avengers 1, I remember liking a lot. And I thought when we rewatched it, I would just love it. And it was a little bit boring to me. And we're going to watch Avengers 2 soon. And I wonder if it'll be a little bit boring. Because I'll just be like, yeah, but I want Endgame. And I want Infinity War. But once they make another Avengers, am I going to feel the same way about those Avenger movies?
So what's been interesting for me so far is the ones that we've rewatched. For the most part, my expectations have been very low in all of these rewatches, and I've been very surprised in a good way that I've liked a lot, like most of them.
Yeah.
This one, first time I saw it, I liked it. Upon this rewatch, I found it to be pretty boring.
Yeah, see, I like this movie still a lot.
I'm not exactly sure why. I think a lot of it is just visually it wasn't stimulating.
Yeah.
So I'm like, part of me is kind of turned off without even knowing it. And then the story I think is interesting, I think, but it is also just a little boring.
Yeah, see, I don't agree with you on that. We're going to have to disagree on this one.
Oh, whatever.
But I think you bring a valuable part to the conversation.
Doesn't sound like it.
Well, anyway, that's all I got to say.
Yeah, I don't really have anything to say because I thought, I don't know.
I think it's still a solid 7 to me.
Okay, I don't, but...
What do you think?
I don't think so.
What do you think, though?
Like maybe a 5.
Whoa!
Yeah. I was just pretty bored.
Okay.
And I think a lot of it was just bogged down in questions that it was like, there were a lot of questions because it's a conspiracy story, but I didn't really know what questions I was supposed to be asking. Because there were a lot of players involved and all that, so.
Oh, I should say, kind of for funsies, if you are listening to this podcast, it's very possible that you are obsessed about things as well and have an obsessive nature. There's a Letterboxd account. So if you like the app Letterboxd, which is a cool account, I set up a list called the MPU, the Macabre Podcast Universe, and you can follow along and see what I rate the movies and stuff, and it has the list of the movies so you can watch as we go along. It's kind of cool. It's a list by Meltarman, Meltarman. I might mention it again later, but not right now.
What were you gonna say about the post-credit scene?
Oh yeah, the post-credit scene, it like sets up some characters we'll meet in
Ultron,
and it also, so after all of that, like Hydra's gone, Shield's gone, and then the post-credit scene, it's a guy from Hydra, and he's like, well, Hydra is not gone yet. We still have things to do as Hydra. And I'm like, but the whole point of this movie was getting rid of Hydra and S.H.I.E.L.D. Like, you can't undo that. That's stupid.
But they did.
And they did it literally 2 minutes after the movie ended. And I'm like, no, Hydra should be done.
Yeah.
That should be the end of Hydra.
Yeah.
Because I know in comic books they go back on a lot of stuff, but these are movies.
Yeah.
Take that creative leap.
Yeah.
Make another weird organization. I don't know. I'm like, right after the credits.
The chapter ended.
And I know that S.H.I.E.L.D. is over, but I'm pretty sure either S.H.I.E.L.D. comes back or it's just kind of
S.H.I.E.L.D.
there still, which also like undoes this movie. So there's like not a lot of consequences to them destroying S.H.I.E.L.D. and Hydra, which is a bummer to me because it weakens the impact of the movie.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about it now.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Anyway, but I do like the movie. Next week we're doing the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Mm-hmm. But let me just tell you right now, I like that movie.
All right, we will see you next week. Thanks for listening. Rate and subscribe and share.
Review it too.
Show one of your friends.
Let us know what you think.
Yeah.
On iTunes.
We have a few reviews. We want more though.
Yeah.
But show it to one of your friends, okay?
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.